Hello YouTube, this is DVD Review Studios here, and today I shall be doing my Christmas haul video for 2021, of which apologies for this being a little bit later than usual. When I upload this video, it'll probably be now early January when this does go up, but of course I hope everyone did enjoy the festivities, and Happy New Year to all my fellow viewers and subscribers. I appreciate everyone that has tuned in. Over the past year, we've grown a heck of a lot over the channel in terms of numbers, something I don't really pay too much attention to, but we've cracked just over now 2 million total upload views, and we recently surpassed 4,000 subscribers, which is absolutely incredible. So a huge thank you to all of you that have stayed tuned in, and I really do appreciate all the comments, likes, criticisms, etc. Anyhow, let us get into the Christmas haul, of which this will primarily just be Blu-rays and DVDs that I'll be featuring, similar to an update video, but I thought for good measure I will throw in a couple of the other items that I don't usually feature on the channel, outside of film and television collecting, so stuff such as the Ultimate Collector Series LEGO R2-D2, which is honestly one of the best LEGO builds I think I've ever had. So I'm excited to show a couple of these other items as well on the channel, and without further ado, let us begin with the Blu-rays. Beginning with the Blu-rays, first up we have Nobody, starring Bob Odenkirk, which this is a film that I'd wanted to check out literally because Odenkirk stars in this. I'm a huge fan of what he has done with characters such as Saul Goodman, and seeing him outside of that role is something that I would like to see more of, to be perfectly honest. And this was a very surprising film, very short, but definitely heavy on the action and violence, which was absolutely phenomenal in terms of choreography and gory details implemented into the film. And I was also really surprised to see Christopher Lloyd had quite a heavy role in this film as well, which I really liked what he brought to the table. And this film was genuinely quite satisfying. The soundtrack was very good in particular, which is something that stood out amongst the rest for me personally. So I definitely recommend giving this a watch. I don't think this is one you should really buy at full price perhaps if you're wanting to grab this on DVD and Blu-ray, but if you're looking to grab a decent action film, then this is something that I'm sure you will very much enjoy. Next up we have Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I grabbed just after Christmas. And this film was directed by Quentin Tarantino, the 9th film by him, and I believe this brings my collection of his movies up to completion once again. And I've not checked this out as of yet, but my good friend The Cryptic Cinema, aka Dean, heavily recommended this one to me, so I thought I'd go ahead and grab this with a Amazon voucher that I got over the festive period. And from what I've seen of it trailer-wise, etc., it does look to be very enjoyable, so perhaps I'll feature this in a future update video. After recently checking out the Bong Joon-ho film Parasite, I thought I'd go ahead and pick up some of the other films by the same director. And so I've recently picked up The Host, which is apparently Jaws via Jurassic Park, which certainly sounds to be up my street as far as monster movies go, so I'll be looking forward to watching that one. One that I read the synopsis of and thought I definitely need to grab this for the collection was Mother, which I picked up at the same time as The Host, and this looks to be a very thrilling drama, to say the least, from what I can understand of it. So again, one that I'll be delving into pretty soon. And then over Amazon we have a box set featuring 2 films by this director. We have Memories of Murder and Barking Dogs Never Bite, of which I don't really know too much about either of these films. The synopsis for Barking Dogs sounded to be very good, but one thing I was kind of disappointed about is the lack of extra features on these Blu-rays. Apparently these are very bog-standard releases with just the films on there, and from what I read on a couple of Amazon reviews, apparently the transfer of these onto Blu-ray is pretty god-awful, so I'm going to be looking at these a little bit more skeptically when I get round to watching them, and I'm hoping it won't come down to me just literally returning these thinking that it's just not as good of a deal as I was hoping I was getting perhaps with these films, but nonetheless I'm hoping they will be of a good quality, and I'm looking forward to checking out more work by this director. Next up we have the complete series release of a show that I've watched on and off over the years, and that is the Cartoon Network series Adventure Time, which I've never watched this show really all the way through properly. I've always caught either random episodes or just caught on to random ongoing stories. The main one that really stuck out to me that I watched a lot of was, I think, 4 or 5 episodes all about the identity of Finn's father and the villain character known as the Lich, which I thought those episodes were genuinely quite creepy in some instances. And the animation style by Pendleton Ward is something that I've always really heavily appreciated. So this is kind of a watered down box set. It's the complete collection, all 10 seasons, all the episodes, but with no bonus features. But this is a slimline box set with basically just 2 Blu-ray cases featured on the inside with 6 discs in each one. And the reason I went for this version is since the version that has the bonus features is literally a massive box set with 11 Blu-ray cases on the inside. And so to kind of save shelf space, I thought I'd just go for this version. But nonetheless, I've seen a few episodes. The opening episodes in Season 1 are very short to my surprise, but still very enjoyable. So that is the complete series of Adventure Time. And then sticking with the theme of animation, we have a couple of Pixar films to fill in some gaps in the collection. We have Soul, which I'd heard very, very good things about, so I'm looking forward to checking that film out at some point. And then one that I've heard kind of mixed things about is Onward, which I was intrigued by the casting choices for the main characters, but beyond that, I don't really know too much about this beyond what I've heard, so I'll make up my own sort of judgments on it once I have checked it out, and I'm thinking of doing an updated Pixar collection video at some point in the new year, so perhaps that'll be something where these 2 films will primarily feature. Moving on to the DVDs, we have the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia Christmas special, which I've had in the collection for a couple of months now, but I've been putting it off until Christmas to actually check this out. And for the most part, I thought it was okay. It wasn't really as funny as I was hoping it would be. It was kind of cliched in some areas. The bits that really caught me off guard was where Charlie viciously attacks a shopping center Santa by biting his throat out, which was pretty fucked up. And the bit that I really liked about this as well was the very charming stop-motion animation bit in the style of the sort of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer Christmas specials, which I really liked as well, and that got very gory similarly too, so some interesting bits about this, but overall just a fairly sort of mediocre special from the It's Always Sunny series. Next up we have the final season of Wentworth Prison, which is Season 8 Part 2. And Wentworth is a show that I've praised very heavily on the channel. It's one that I would highly recommend, set in an Australian women's prison. And this final season, albeit some parts were a little bit irritating and, to be honest, fairly stupid, I really loved where this plot was heading with the final couple of episodes relating to a terrorist attack on the prison, which was completely out of nowhere. Something that I did not expect, but was overall very fulfilling for a conclusive end to the show. And I hope we see more shows similar to this in terms of the scope that it covered, and I'm kind of surprised that they managed to keep it going for so long, but overall the series in itself, looking at the entire thing, was fairly consistent, some very creative characters, particularly the main overarching villain Joan Ferguson is a standout to me personally, and a show that I definitely recommend checking out if you're interested in a police-style drama, so that is Wentworth Prison. Next up we have the Series 1-2 box set of the Channel 4 series Humans, which is a show that I'd read a little bit about, and with it being a science fiction drama, it sounded like something I would definitely want to check out. And I was intrigued by the premise of this series, with it essentially boiling down to synthetic humans being a huge part of modern-day society in this parallel world. And that's something that just jumped out at me as something that I'd really want to watch. Unfortunately, the show was cancelled by the 3rd series, so I'm hoping there won't be a useless cliffhanger or something daft like that, but I guess we shall soon find out. So that is the 1-2 box set of Humans. And last up for the DVDs, we have the complete series box set of the television show Dexter, seasons 1-8. Of which I've heard very good things about this show. I picked up this box set through a Amazon Black Friday deal for a very good price, and the show definitely does sound like something I would be hooked by instantly. And in terms of what I've been told about the show, I've been told kind of mixed things about the sort of progression of the series. Apparently the first 4 seasons of the show vastly outweigh the latter 4 in terms of overall quality. But regardless, I'm looking forward to checking this out. I have no idea when I'll be getting round to doing so. When it comes to a series like this, I try my best to binge through it and not leave it sort of halfway or leave it hanging in any way like I've done with shows in the past. And so once I've wrapped up another series I'm currently working my way through, I may move on to Dexter at that point in time. Anyhow, that is the DVDs and Blu-rays I picked up this year. Let's move on to the other items. Couple of additional items I got. We have a t-shirt from the Gorillaz, which is based on the front cover to the first album they brought out in the early 2000s, with all 4 characters inside the ever-iconic Jeep. And staying on the subject of music, I grabbed a CD by the group iMonster that originated in Sheffield. And this is Bright Sparks, which came out in 2016. I bought this directly through their Bandcamp page. And as far as the group goes, they are very obscure and, to be honest, not the usual genre I would listen to. I would describe their stuff as mainly electronic, which is a genre that I don't tend to go for, to be honest, but their work has been something that's really stuck with me this past couple of months. And this was the only CD of theirs that I did not have in my collection since it wasn't made available on Amazon or anywhere like that. I've only listened to track 1 so far. It was quite long, but was very different, a rhythmically inducing history lesson almost, which I thought was quite nifty. And just to kind of recommend their stuff a little bit more, I do have their other 2 albums, which is Nether Odd or Even, or Never Odd or Even. It's a bit of a palindrome spelled the same way, forwards and backwards, but their stuff is pretty iconic, surprisingly. The Blue Wrath is, funnily enough, the opening theme to Shaun of the Dead, and the track that kind of got me hooked on their stuff was Daydream in Blue, which is a theme that was used in the TV series Mr. Robot, a show, again, that I would highly recommend. And so that sort of opened the black hole of getting sucked into their stuff, and then my favourite album by them is definitely A Dense Swarm of Ancient Stars, which has some incredible vocals on here, particularly the female vocals provided by a young lady called Philly Smith for A Sucker for Your Sound, Lust for a Vampire, and then part 1 and 2 of the Sickly Sweet. Honestly, some of the best stuff out there, genuinely a very underappreciated band in my honest opinion, so I would definitely recommend checking out some of their stuff. I also picked up this figure of Kenny McCormick from South Park by Kid Robot, which is the rarest in the second wave of the South Park Kid Robot figurines, so this was one that I really wanted to have in the collection. Of course, this being Assface Kenny from the Picture Day episode, which I thought was very funny. Couple of books I picked up. We have a Star Wars Legends novel, Kenobi by John Jackson Miller, which I grabbed this mainly just to see if there'd be any sort of notable either similarities or differences with the upcoming Obi-Wan Kenobi Disney Plus series, and seeing whether or not it draws any sort of material from something of this nature. And from what I've read synopsis-wise, this is quite an intriguing story as well anyway, so that is the Kenobi novel. And I also grabbed this box set of Rick and Morty graphic novels. This is 1 through to 10. And it's quite a heavy box set. I already have volumes 1 and 2 from this box set anyway, so I'll be selling on the duplicate copies, but it was great to get the rest of these since the comic run is surprisingly quite good. It fills in some of the gaps in the series, along with providing additional lore on certain aspects of the show as well, so they're overall very creative, and in terms of humour, I would say they're just as good, if not in some instances a lot better, than what we've had as of late with some of the episodes of the series. And looking at the couple of LEGO models I picked up from the Star Wars line, we have the Ultimate Collector Series R2-D2 displayable figure. This is a model I've wanted in my collection for a little while. Initially, I was going to grab the 2012 version, which now goes for quite a bit of money on eBay, but with a re-release on the horizon, I'm very glad that I held off, because this, in my opinion, is a lot better than the original version. The head spins 360 degrees, loads of really neat sort of additional kind of hidden features on this model, such as little pieces on his chest that pop open. We have some interesting bits included on the inside of R2's head, so we can lobotomize poor R2, and inside we have a very mini sort of replica of Luke Skywalker's lightsaber from episode 6, so that's a neat touch. It doesn't fire out or anything like in the film, which is a shame, but obviously as far as incorporating a feature like that goes, I think that would just either bump up the price, or with the space inside the head, probably not the best in terms of actually hiding such a feature. And he also has his little sort of periscope eye in the back of his head there as well. On the back of the figure we have a couple of trigger pieces which allow you to open up the front part of R2, exposing the sort of miniature arms that allow him to plug into sort of consoles, door controls, that sort of thing within the lore of Star Wars, which is a neat touch. And then probably my favourite feature about this R2 build, and honestly the most complicated bit about the sort of inner workings of the figure, is this, where he's able to actually drop his third appendage. I was trying to avoid saying the phrase third leg, but obviously here we are. and that actually tucks inside him using rubber bands, which is an interesting technique for LEGO. You don't often see sort of rubber band pieces on the inside of models like that, but yeah, definitely an interesting build, and definitely one of the more, I guess, articulate kind of builds at that. And similar to some of the other LEGO Star Wars buildable characters, we have a plaque relaying some info about the character, a minifigure scale version of the character, and one additional thing which I believe is funnily enough exclusive to just this model, is this 50th anniversary Lucasfilm print, which this is actually printed onto the brick itself, not a sticker like this one is, which I had to apply myself, but I'm going to go out on a whim and say that has got to be worth a bit of money in the coming years when the set does retire. So it'd be interesting to track how much that does eventually go for, but otherwise, fantastic build, definitely one of the best sets in my collection. And for the other two sets that I grabbed, we have the 8080 model, which was part of the 40th anniversary line for Empire Strikes Back. And I have not a clue when I'm going to get around to building this, but the figurines that are included, particularly General Veers, were one of the main draws for me personally, and from what I've seen, apparently you can actually fit both 8080 drivers and Veers inside the cockpit on there, which is something that I don't believe you have been able to do on previous iterations of this model. And even after seeing the Ultimate Collector Series version of this particular vehicle, I'm just glad to have one of these in the collection. I don't know what I would do with the UCS version, but this one will certainly suffice, and I'm glad to have this one as part of my collection. I also picked up Darth Vader's castle as seen in Rogue One, and I believe this set is based on the game Vader Immortal. And this was one that I had my eye on. I wasn't really sure if I would pull the trigger on it, but it was exclusive to Amazon, and the price dropped from around, I think it was $120 at retail, and randomly dropped to, I think it was $85 if memory serves, so I'm glad I added this one to the collection as well. Again, not a clue when I'm going to get around to building this one, but I didn't want to miss out on the figurines that are included on this set, especially the back-to-tank Darth Vader, which is probably going to remain exclusive to this set, I would imagine. So that's going to do it for my Christmas haul video for 2021. I hope you did enjoy. If you did, be sure to leave me a like down below. Let me know in the comments if you grabbed anything of interest for Christmas this year. And for more content, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, DVD Review Studios, and all the best for 2022.
Are you threatening me?